Hello again. It's not often that we're ahead of time, so we got a well-deserved break. The next speaker is Kristina, originally Macedonian. I can also present, introduce her in Macedonian, but only me and her will understand. So, also she flew in from Lisbon. So a big round of applause. Software engineer in Mollie who likes to sing and has been a radio host. So maybe we can ask her to sing at the end.
If the speech goes well, I will definitely do some of that. No, I'm not doing that.
I thought that was already included in the last 5 minutes.
People need to watch till the end to see.
All right, take it away.
Thanks, Vesna. How often or rare it is to see two Macedonian girls on one stage at Mollie? Yeah, I think it's the first time ever that this is happening. Anyways, let me figure out the setup. Okay. Cool. All right. Is technical difficulties. Yeah? Cool. Great, cool. The Science of Happiness by me, Kristina. But what I'm actually going to talk about behind this flashy title is I'm going to tell you about some things that make us happy and some things that do not. And I'm going to give you some tips and strategies on how to increase our happiness levels, hopefully in a sustainable way. So first things first, happiness. What is all about this concept of happiness? So when we think about happiness, we can think about something that happens in the moment, something that brings us joy and pleasure in this moment, that just makes us feel immensely happy in this very moment. But also apart from that, where do I hold this? It's here. Yeah? Thanks, Leo. Okay, cool. But also it can refer to something more general about more overall life satisfaction and having multiple things combined in life, such as having a good health, having a romantic relationships, having a good job, a stable circle of friends. So all of these things combined, if you have them in life, you can think that you're happy in life. So it's a more general thing. Well, today I'm gonna be addressing both of these because happiness is such a big, beautiful thing that it takes many different angles on how we describe it. So let me start by first saying how I got to speak about this thing today. As you can see on this very beautifully crafted slide by yours truly, in the leap between 2020 and 2021, I had just started working in Mollie. In fact, I started January 2021. But also, apart from that, maybe like some of the others of you might be doing, I also wanted to become a better version of myself. So what I did is I looked for ways in which how I can improve, hopefully learn something new, put it in practice in my daily life. And I ended up finding this course that is on Coursera. It's called The Science of Wellbeing. It's offered by Yale, and in parallel to Coursera, it's being done at Yale University by Professor Laurie Santos, who is a PhD, has a PhD in psychology. So as you can see, or you can check it by yourself, it's not Photoshop. It's quite a popular course. It has a lot of great reviews, a really impressive response by the community on it. And it is about positive psychology, and it's about improving ways on how we deal in daily life. So the course is primarily taking its main points from positive psychology. Now, what is positive psychology? It's a branch, it's a part of psychology that has been booming over the past 20, 30 years or so before that it didn't really exist because only in the recent years, positive psychologists have come to the realization that the absence of mental illness does not necessarily mean that people will have a good life per se, or that they will find the ways in which they would thrive or flourish, or you name it, just by having a balanced life or having the things that I saw you a few slides earlier. So one can argue that as an opposite thing of traditional psychology that deals with mental illnesses, positive psychology deals with a mental well-being. And this here is the place where I want to put the first big, huge, and actually the only disclaimer I want to have in this speech. And this is because first, as you can see, this person who's promoting happiness, the stick figure here, to me at least, it looks like he's being held hostage and just like has behind a gun that makes him be like, yeah, I'm happy. But apart from that, on a more serious note, we are complex beings. We cannot have a few shiny things on how we can thrive be telling us on how we can deal with actual serious things in our lives. We can have really big problems that are happening to us, and it's not some ways of positivity or some even toxic positivity can tell us how we can overcome. And in fact, when I was just going into this course and starting the year of 2021, and I was just trying to be more happy and lead a more fulfilled life. In fact, I actually started being in a very difficult situation because a very close family member of mine had just gotten very ill as a consequence of COVID. So this has caused me to feel a great amount of stress, of sorrow, of pain, and I had so many difficult feelings going on, and this whole time I was just trying to be more happy by doing this small things. But what I'm trying to say is that you can have bad things in life, but you can also have some things, some smaller mechanisms that can help you on a smaller scale achieve some happiness in small moments, even small moments throughout the day, even if you're having a hard time. And this is something that will go and will be a recurring theme of the whole speech that I'm about to have, is that our mind is tricking us into doing things and thinking about things that are not actually true and that are not going to actually make us happy. So this is this is the main takeaway. I cannot get used to this. This is so this is the main thing that I want to address today, and this is the thing I want to stick with you throughout the day. And this is that our mind is tricking us into thinking things that are not true. So this is I'm gonna reiterate on this on a few different things. So first mind trick, and I'm gonna have 3 of those. So first mind trick is called it's mind trick number 1, and it's called having this one thing in life will make me really happy. And by one thing, I mean any materialistic thing, like just having this bright new pair of shoes, or having a new house, or eating a delicious pizza, or I can mean something more in general, like leaping to this position at work, or getting a higher income, any sort of concrete thing that you strive to get and then you eventually get it. Truth is, yes, it will make you happy for a certain amount of time, but then it will not make you that happy. And that is because there's this thing called hedonic treadmill that happens to us. And before I go into that, I'll just take a sip of water because this is exhaustingly sunny here. So yeah, it's a spoiler. Cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's too hot, right?
Nobody else did it. I mean, do I speak a lot more? I don't even know. Thanks, Sohal. Great. So, hedonic treadmill, what it is all about. It's also called hedonic adaptation. It's about that. It's about the fact that we are wishing to get something, and we are getting it, and then we adapt to it. Or more specifically, and put on a picture, it works kind of like this. So first we desire about getting something, and you can just imagine anything that resonates with you in your life. We desire to get something, and then we strive to get it, and when we push our limits and then we work really, really hard, or in fact we don't, we just spend some money and we get it. But anyways, we find our ways into getting this thing that we really want, and we obtain it. Yay. We get it. We enjoy it. We're super happy because we've got this thing that we really wanted, right? But then what happens is that we adapt, and we are just used to having what something was so great to us. And you can just take a moment and think about anything that applies to you, because I'm sure that variety of things in your life you have taken in this way, like this. I've listed an example here. It's actually a research conducted in the 70s even, and it's about measuring the reported happiness levels between two different groups of people. One that have experienced a tremendously a difficult event in their lives, such as having an accident, becoming paralyzed. The other group being lottery winners. So shortly after this event happened, their reported levels of happiness were obviously, in comparison to their situation, either really low or very high. But then a few years after that, like 2-3 years after that, the reported levels of happiness were not that different. And you can see that I'm not lying to you. It's actually how it went. So basically, after some time in your life, you just adapt to whatever life has brought you, and you can also take it for positive here. So if anything really bad happens to you, eventually you will adapt to it because you're human and that's what you do. But also it's also for the good things in life. And obviously, as I mentioned briefly earlier, this can refer to binging a TV show, or getting a new pair of shoes, or starting a new job, like getting around tens of interviews to land your dream job, and then a few months after that, you're just waking up to go to your job, and that's the same thing like every day. And also and I think that it's a very visually easy to explain the example with a pizza, is that you're ordering a pizza and you're waiting for it, and then you have your cravings for pizza. You're just imagining how tasty the pizza is going to be. So the pizza arrives, you take your first bite, right? It tastes like heaven. It's the best thing that happened to you. And then you eat the full slice, and it's great, right? The pizza is so tasty. And then you take the next slice. Does it taste nearly as good as the first one? No, it doesn't. Then you take the third one. Does it taste nearly as good as the second one? Not even the first one? No, it doesn't. And that's how it goes. And yeah, sorry to break that for you, but it's what we have. It's hedonic adaptation. We're humans, so we need to deal with that. And to be even more on the sad side, so I'm going to show you an example of. Yeah, you got it. You're hinted by just what you're seeing, because yes. Newsflash, sorry to break this for you, but you're gonna hedonically adapt to your married life. And by that, I mean also to your romantic relation to whoever you're in love with. So this is a research conducted in 2003, and it was actually following people for the range of 15 years. And here we have this is the example of German ladies. So maybe it maybe applies to just the German ladies. So we can think about that. Basically, on x-axis, we see the time preceding and after people got married. 0 is a moment of time when they got married. So you can see, as it shows, that the happiness levels were just going upwards, had an upward trend as people met their loved one, the love of their life. So they were, getting involved more deeply into this relationship, and just, having a great time ever. Then they got married, and then they adapted to the fact that wake up every day to their loved one. And then after a while, their happiness levels were just about the same before they met this person. Sorry about that. But anyways, I don't want to sound depressing or anything. It's just something that we just have to acknowledge, that this is how it works. And good news is I'm offering you some requirements. Now, this one is not related to your love life, but you can take it for some other things. So the first one is called invest in experiences. And this is something you can easily do. Basically, in experiences are one-offs, right? So you don't wake up every day to have this experience. When you book a holiday, you're going to have this holiday. It's going to be one-off experience that you're not going to be repeating. Basically, if you're about to go on a trip, first you think about where you're going to go. And then you're like, oh, let's go there. Let's book this hotels and book these flights. And then you're like, oh, you're envisioning about the time you're going to have, like the fun you're going to have there. So you're thinking something like, yeah, it's going to be so exciting. I'm going to try these new dishes. I'm going to see these new places. So you have excitement growing before you're actually having this thing going. And then before the time that you go on holiday comes, on a few different occasions, you're going to think about, wow, in 5 days, I'm going on holiday. So you're going to be happy that something is about to happen before it's actually happening. Then you go there, then you're having the time of your life. Okay, Yeah, lower that. You're having a great time. You're having a great time. And yeah, you're just doing these things that you're expected you're going to do. You try the awesome food. You have extreme sports, maybe whatever you're into, yada yada yada. Then you come back. The trip is over. But what you do is that you can scroll over your phone to see some pictures, and then you once again remember to how you had a great time. Or you can go and tell your friends about the great time you had. So it's once again a time when you remember something that is a one-off that you had never the chance to adapt. So requirement number one, invest in experiences. I maybe was too late with the slide, but you get what I mean. This is all sorts of experience that are there to inspire you. And then I have requirement number two, and this one is called savoring. Sorry, Frank. Savoring refers to the moment when you're feeling something, when you're experiencing something that feels great, it feels really nice, but you're just stepping outside a bit of a moment and just acknowledging that you're experiencing something that is really nice. So like you're enjoying, but you're maybe, yes, you wanted to do something and to do this pleasurable activity, but then you're doing this pleasurable activity and your mind is wandering off to something else because that's how you are. You just start thinking about other things. Well, the thing is, just be in this very moment. Just think about the fact that, yes, this is very enjoyable. I wanted this to happen. And this will not last for ages, but for that time, it will sparkle better joy that it otherwise would. And yes, now we go into some of the examples. So this is me, and right next to me, this is a burek. It's a Balkan burek, namely this is a burek from Skopje, Macedonia. And it's a yogurt next to it. Basically, the course, while the completion of it, it took a few weeks, and every week we were supposed to. Sorry, it's reality.
Why are you doing this to me?
Sorry, no hard feelings. Yeah, so throughout the course, we were supposed to do the requirements so that we would practice this one thing for a week. So 1 week we should have done savoring. It, as I said earlier, this happened to be in time of my life where my life was really in a very, very bad place, but I had to do my homework, and I'm a very, a student that does their homework. So I went and I had a burek, and I just thought about the fact that I haven't had such a great burek in Amsterdam because, sorry, not sorry, we have better burek. Uh, but still, for those 5 or 10 minutes that I was eating the burek, I just felt like that was great, and that was all I needed. And for this 5 or 10 minutes, I could just dissociate for whatever shitstorm my life was back then. And believe it or not, it just stick. And now I'm thinking about this, even though it was just a simple thing as eating a meal, it's something that I remembered and I can take with you here today. Is that sometimes you just need to savor the moment that you're having, and that despite of how your life may be. There are moments in our days that just can bring you immense joy, and then in each single day you can find something great. So that's the conclusion of it. Now I'm going to the second one, and this is called Minds Think in Relative Terms and Judged Against Those. And to start this one, I'm going to start with a visual example, and I'm going to show you the circles here, and I'm going to ask you, actually, it's a more rhetorical question, and I'm leading you to the answer, but which one would you say that looks bigger than the other one? The orange circle that is surrounded by big circles, or the orange circle that is surrounded by small circles? And you would say the one that is surrounded by small circles. And that's what our minds think, because, it's just surrounded by something smaller, so it seems bigger. And shocking news, breaking news. If I show you the picture where the gray circles are gone, you'll just see that both of them are the same. And this is something that we can take as a visual example, but we can also apply to our minds. It's a thing that's called reference bias. It refers to the fact that we take as reference points people who we think are more successful than us in certain ways, and we place them as a reference, and we compare ourselves against them, and that may feel as think that we're something smaller than them. We'll start with an example with Olympic sportsmen, sports people, just medalists in general. Basically, there is this concept of silver medalist syndrome, and that's that silver medalists are oftentimes less happy for winning a silver medal then bronze medalists will be, and bronze medalists will be more happy by winning a bronze medal. And the first research was conducted among medalists from '92 Olympics, and this was the conclusion that they got. And this is because bronze medalists are thinking, I was so close to being a gold medalist. I almost had it. I didn't do it. Yeah, I'm just miserable now having this silver medal. Whereas the bronze medalist would be like, hey, I almost didn't make the pedestal. Great, I did it. Cool, I'm here. Yeah. So it just like people have different reference points to how they compare themselves in this situation, and that can for no objective reason make them feel lower than they should. I think that most of us, or none of us, I'm not sure, are not medalists, haven't won any great Olympic medals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we can also apply. We can also be in this kind of competition in our lives, and we can try to compete against other people and how they do. So we often see posts on Instagram, posts on LinkedIn, where people post their flashy updates about their inspiring stories of how they have achieved something so tremendously inspiring, and we watch these conference speakers, yes, who who have figured out everything in their lives, or not everything, but just, I mean, the subjects that they're talking about, they seem like they've figured the subjects all together so great that they have written this most amazing piece of code, and it just makes us think that, yeah, we haven't done so much in comparison. So we just, the thing is that we all are authentic, right? We have our own ways of doing things, and comparison is the way in which you can kill your authenticity. So this is, I think that we all kind of know this, but it's good to reiterate once on doing this. And it's my way of giving you this requirement. It's called acknowledge what you're doing and just step outside of it. It's kind of like an intervention. It's something that you can just acknowledge that you're seeing something online that is making you think like, oh, so okay, yeah, they did it. Well, great, I'm happy for them, but I wish I could do that too. But it's not your way of doing things, and you'll just have it your way when you do it. When you do it, you do it. And more specifically, this can be taken into example for social media comparison, because those are just so easier to fall into the loop, because everybody's so shiny and great on social media. And that's the second. Okay, the timer, please, Vesna. Yes, great. So that was the second thing about comparison, about our minds thinking into relative terms. And now we're going into the third and final trick, which is mind trick number 3. And it's called, by getting high income, I will reach work satisfaction. Now, if you have listened to me closely since the very beginning, which I surely hope you did, you might be saying, yeah, Kristina, because hedonic adaptation applies to this. And I'm going to be saying, yes, you're completely right. That's what it does. But the reason why I'm listing this as a separate mind trick is because I want to offer you some specifically work-related requirements that I'm going to go into detail just in a bit. So basically, by getting high income, I will reach a better overall idea of how my life works, and I would just, in the scale of how I envision myself, I will reach better satisfaction where I'm standing in this system that we have, right? But it doesn't really mean a lot about how you feel, if you feel happy, and how you feel while you're doing this work. So I'm going to be telling you about 2 concepts. The first one being flow, and Femke briefly mentioned this at the very beginning when she was just starting today. Flow refers to a state in which it's believed that people are the most happy, and it's a term coined by Mr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, which last name it took me ages to learn. By the way, thanks. Thanks, I really tried. He has a great TED Talk here, but also he has spent most of his work life to study these states. And basically, he describes flow as a state of being immensely absorbed with the activity you're doing at hand. You're just you're doing something in which you're super involved. You're very interested in doing this. Your receptors are just open. You're fully engaged in producing something, and you're in this loop in which you're producing. but it's giving you back because you're doing good work, right? You're productive. Immediately you're getting some results, so it makes you put more effort into it. And then by doing this, you can just be so involved in doing this. You can be just losing any track of time. You're losing your sense of ego. Just everything is going. It's just you and this activity at hand that you're doing. So it's quite a powerful thing. Apart from at work, of course, there are many situations in our life in which we can experience flow. Namely, it's very common to, if you're good in some sports, like if you're a good skier, when you're skiing, you're doing a very steep slope, and it's challenging for you, but it's rewarding. You can do it, and you're fully engaged in doing this. So that's one thing. If you're a musician, it can be about you doing music and just being lost in what you're producing in an audio sense, in a audible sense. It can also be about writers when they get into this creative energy, or it can be about painters. Yes, Babras, cool. So it can be found in doing many different activities, and you can also take a moment and think about what are the states that put you into flow. And I'm going to be more specific about work states, and I'm going to be explaining now the Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's model of flow and how it works. I find this super interesting. So he basically maps the flow on a scale as a dependency between your abilities and your challenge and the challenges and hence. I'm going to leave this for a bit. So basically, flow. Yes. No, it's fine. Thanks. Cool. Right. So flow is something you experience when you have a high set of abilities, but also a high set of challenges. So it's time when you know that your skill set is high, but you're also quite challenged. And it's in this situation where just all your abilities are triggered in a most positive way because you're getting rewarded. Also, there are two good states that you can be in. I mean, good, like almost as good as flow, and those would be the arousal and the control state, with the arousal state being the one where your abilities are not as a high level as you would be in flow, but you're challenged, you're there, you're doing something, progressing at this immersed speed and engagement as you would be in flow, but it's a matter of you improving your abilities, and eventually you will get into flow. And we also have the control state, and that is the one where your challenge is not that high. You're kind of in control. You're happy what you're doing. You know you have a good skill set, so you can do this. You're not that, you're not reaching your maximum. And if you would think about if you would like to go into flow, maybe it's a matter of just leveling up your challenge there. Now, the other states, as you can see, are not that preferable, with the ones being on the lower end being more. Is it? Yeah. Okay. I'm tripping. With the ones on the lower side being related to something where you're just the challenge is not that great, so you're not that challenged, so it's not making you that happy and rewarded. And the other ones is that you don't have your challenge set, so you're just going to be feeling anxious. You're going to be feeling anxious because you cannot deliver. You're not to this level yet. So what I would say is think about times when you're at work and when you're doing something and how this relates to flow. And that's exactly the requirement. It's a search for flow at your workplace, because as I explained, flow can make you very happy at the moment of doing this, and it can also extend the feeling of happiness because you know that the next day you would be also maybe in flow, and therefore be once again in the zone or in the groove to produce something that's making you happy. And for me, also, I think for many of us here, you could think about coding and different challenges you get if you're an engineer, different challenges that you get, right? You can work on a task that is super easy, that is not that rewarding. You're just doing something, yeah, just like that. Or you can have something that is really challenging you, but you're learning it, you're doing it, and it can give you a few hours of you're just iterating, you're doing something, you're producing, and it's giving you the state of flow. So that's, I think, a very tangible way of thinking about how we can implement flow in your workplace. But yeah, please let me know if there are any other ways. And the final thing I'm going to talk about on the point of work happiness is character strengths. And this is something that was coined by Seligman and the team in 2005. And it's about things that we have, like personal traits, like virtues that we carry within us that are special and individual to us, that we can put in practice in our daily life and also at work. And this is something that just feels natural because we're good at it, we like doing it, but also we are contributing to something better. So as I was explaining, so character strengths are just virtues that are related to us, personal traits that we have, just something we're born with and something we enjoy doing and find naturally doing. And these folks here have formed the Savaya Character Institute that does a classification of character strengths. I don't know if you can see them from the audience here, but I'm sure everybody online can see it. They're kind of taken from overall religions and just moral philosophers around the world, and they all revolve around good values, good virtues that just contribute to something better. So the idea is that you have some personal trait that also relates to something that is in general good, and then if you practice what you're just good at while contributing to doing something better, you will feel more happy. And those are listed on the screen. And as a requirement here would be just find something that you like doing, you're good at doing, that you can produce results without putting too much effort or like hating it. You're something that you like doing, find value of it, and then if you practice it, you'll just feel naturally rewarded. Basically, that's the requirement. It's put your character strengths into practice. And you might be thinking, but I don't know my character strengths. And that's a harder thing. And I can offer you the test that I did on viacharacter.org. You can find it on the slides and you can see your character strengths. But these days there are tons of different frameworks in which you can see things that you're better at. You can do 16 personalities tests. You can take the DISC model. I'm no expert in this to tell you what's the best way, but just you can find what resonates to you and try to put this into practice. And this is also part of the course was for us to take the VIA character test. And for me, what I found was that, for instance, my signature strength was judgment. So it's under the core virtue of wisdom. There are 4 of them. So I am thinking things through and examining them from all sides. I'm not jumping to conclusions, jumping to weighing all evidence fairly. So I can say that kind of, yes, I'm an objective thinker. I'm analytical. So that kind of also goes with my idea on how I do things. So not that I take pride, but I just take this into account. I value myself for being good, or at least trying to be good at making decisions, just be analytical and thorough. But to be honest, I'm the most proud of seeing humor there as my 5th most core strength. So I'm quite a humorous person, as you can see for yourself. And that will be the end of my official talk about happiness. We discussed today about 3 different mind tricks. One is the hedonic treadmill and how we adapt to pretty much everything in life. One is about judging against relative terms and feeling miserable about that. And the third one is about finding things in your job that will make you feel more rewarded. And as a general idea, I talked about how our minds are thinking into things that are not true, but sadly, oh my God, luckily there are things that we can do to overcome some of these. So I wish you to take this into account. And you might be thinking, whatever happened to me as the hero of the story, right? Yeah. How it actually went is that this course is taking 10 weeks to complete. I started it in January and I was going through it for a few weeks. As I said, I had a very difficult personal situation. Well, life happened, life is hard, and this situation resolved for the worst possible scenario it could be. So this is not happy end story. I never got to finish the course. I ended at about week 7 or 8 because I had different scale of range of magnitude of feelings to process in different ways. So I took different mechanisms, steps that just positive psychology cannot fix. But on the positive side is even now, 1 year later, I'm thinking about the things in which this course taught me about how our mind works and what we can do to overcome those. And for those few moments, I was able to find happiness even in the great amount of sadness. So I'm leaving you with that, and I'm hoping that you can also take some of that with you. Check out the course and take care of your mind and just be gentle with it. And I'm wishing you a very fulfilled and a happy mind and life. Thank you. Questions? Wow, all clear. Cool. That's a first. That's a first.
Awesome.
Is this talk based on Science of Happiness course by Dr. Laurie Santos? Yes, it is. Yes, it's based on that one. Cool. Right. I left everyone speechless. I hope that's for better and not for worse. So thanks to everyone to coming to my TED Talk. Bye.
Thank you.